So there is one special thing this time. We have a special guest at our round table. This is Corinne Dettmeijer. She happens to be in Vienna, and she would like, she has applied, to become the next special representative and coordinator on human trafficking of the OSCE. I believe a very important position, having been myself the first special representative of this organization. So I couldn't resist, and I just asked her to present a bit what her views are, but I don't want to hide that there is also a little bit of a problem, because she should already have been appointed, long time appointed, but there are some issues which take time. So I think it's fine that you are here. Thank you very much, Corinne. And I would like to give you the floor, but just a moment, let me just say something on your record, really. So she was the Dutch rapporteur on human trafficking and sexual violence against children for 11 years, even more than 11 years. And let me also say that the Netherlands had the first real rapporteur. It was a decision, it was an OSCE decision, by the way, to say countries should have a national rapporteur. And frankly speaking, most countries don't have it, So most countries just go with the coordination. But if we think it a bit more logical, we would say, well, first you need to know what's going on, and then you can coordinate something against it. But let me just say that it was the Netherlands to have this first national rapporteur, then others followed, of course, but and she was one of the second, I think, the second national rapporteur, and for years. But she has also other positions, important positions. She served for 25 years as a judge in the District Court of The Hague. She was also a council member and later Secretary General of the International Association on Juvenile and Family Judges and Magistrates. She is, amongst other things, a member of the board of the Pro Juventute Foundation and of the European Institute for Crime Prevention and Control, affiliated with the United Nations. She is a member of the high-level global task force to end sexual exploitation of children in travel and tourism, and of the expert advisory council to the Global Fund to End Modern Slavery. She is a vice president of the pilot to ascertain victimhood of human trafficking without criminal prosecution, something we certainly are also going to discuss further. And she currently holds the Cleveringa, I don't know if I pronounce it correctly, the Cleveringa chair at the Leiden University. So you see, she has a really exciting record. Corinne, please come here and take the floor.
Dear Helga, thank you for this opportunity. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends. Helga has invited me to share some words on the procedure for the position. Yes, I'm a little smaller, so I need to lower this. You're so right. For the position of the Special Representative and Coordinator on Human Trafficking of the OSCE. I'm the candidate, and the Secretary General wants me appointed. It is a dual position. It's a decision from both the Secretary General and the Chair in Office, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Italy. It is unfortunate that no decision has been taken as yet. One participating state has objections to my appointment. The objections do not reflect on me as a candidate. If that were the case, I wouldn't be here. But they reflect on the Netherlands as a country and the misconception about its prostitution laws and policy. I would obviously like to fulfill this position, and I'm confident that I would do an excellent job. But that is not the issue at hand. I have shown that I can make a difference when efforts to fight trafficking are needed, but that too is not the issue at hand. The OSCE region faces many and diverse challenges. Digital developments, that's what you're going to talk about today, migration, meeting the Sustainable Development Goals, to name but a few. The post is now empty and should be filled to reflect the importance the OSCE sets on the fight against trafficking in persons. I will explain why I think that prostitution laws and policies of a country should be of no consequence in appointing the selected candidate. And I will explain the prostitution regulations and policy in the Netherlands. First, an OSCE official should speak and act in accordance with all 57 member states. It concerns a high-level international position in a multilateral context. He or she is not an NGO or parliamentarian, but has the assignment to further the fight against trafficking in the OSCE region. He or she should fulfill this task from an international perspective, not as a representative of his or her country. What is needed is someone who knows and understands the differences between the member states and works with those differences to jointly improve the fight against trafficking. And then second, the basis of the fight against trafficking is the Palermo Protocol. During the negotiations for the protocol, there was a disparity between those states that hold prostitution per se as trafficking and those that did not. The matter was resolved by agreeing to disagree. Therefore, the text of the protocol does not indicate that prostitution and trafficking are the same thing. It is a protocol that is the criterion by which the US draws up its annual TIP report. Third, a candidate for a position as this should be measured by his or her own merits and qualifications, not by the policy of the country. Or should we, for instance, say that if a candidate had openly spoken against his or her country's policy, he or she would be eligible and not held accountable for his or her country's laws? And how vocal would this speaking out have to be? And what if the candidate is a civil servant? Or if the candidate is from a country where on paper prostitution is prohibited, but the protection of victims is below par? Will moral perspectives only rule that decision? And then fourth, the Netherlands has an exceptional track record of its efforts to fight trafficking. It has an independent national rapporteur, Helga said so, who has over the years made more than 200 recommendations, of which more than 80% have been adopted. The Netherlands has specialized judges on trafficking. In 2017, of 63 prosecutions, 58 were convicted, and that has something to do with training and knowledge within the judiciary. The Netherlands was the first country to conduct a multiple systems estimation to estimate the number of victims of trafficking per 100,000 of the population, and differentiating between foreign and Dutch national victims. This gives valuable information on where to target your efforts and where preventative measures should be directed. The Netherlands has excellent rights for victims regarding their residency. There's now a pilot, and I'm vice president of this, where a special multidisciplinary committee advises on the victimhood, even when there are no leads for a criminal investigation. When victims get compensations rewarded from the perpetrators, awarded by the courts, the money is advanced by the government to lessen the trauma for victims. The National Rapporteur and her office have been set as an example of how to monitor one's own government's efforts. Her office has been, now it's his office, instrumental in setting up monitoring mechanisms in other European countries. The Netherlands ranked the only A country in the Global Slavery Index. The Netherlands, as a member of the Security Council of the UN, initiated sanctions imposed on 6 traffickers from Libya. Never before had UN sanctions been imposed on individual human traffickers. As a result, they can no longer operate in the shadows, they are no longer allowed to cross borders, countries must deny them entry and freeze their assets. And then I will explain the Dutch law and policy on prostitution. Prostitution holds a vast variety of sexual services, from escort service and brothels to happy endings in massage parlors. It concerns both men and women, and children, sad to say. Basically, when the ban on brothels was lifted, selling, buying, or earning money of sexual services was no longer prohibited for consenting adults. It became a matter for the municipalities to regulate, to set rules and conditions whereby commercial sex could be licensed. Without a license, prostitution was prohibited. Buying sex from someone under 18, regardless whether the buyer knew or could have known the age, is a felony, punishable with up to 4 years imprisonment. Prosecution of these cases, and I've been instrumental in that, has rocketed over the last years. Rules and conditions concern minimum age, language proficiency, number of licenses to give out, hygiene, and severe background checks for owners and managers of clubs and brothels. The motive of these conditions and regulations is concern for the safety and the autonomy of the prostitutes. The number of licenses for brothels has dropped over the years, from 1,127 in 2006 to 664 in 2014, and that decline continues. The whole economic trend is to order online. This is no different for sexual services, and that's what we're going to talk about later. There is, in many municipalities, sex workers also need a license to work from home, their own home, or in hotels. The internet is the place where sex is bought and sold. Therefore, the police also monitor the internet to identify possible exploitation or underage victims. The government subsidizes schemes for prostitutes who want to get out in cooperation with employment agencies. In my first report as rapporteur, I recommended that the law on prostitution become stricter and no longer leave the initiative on the municipal level. I advised to prohibit prostitution unless a license had been given by the municipality. My grounds for these recommendations were not morals, but the effectiveness of the fight against trafficking. That law has been set in motion, but it has not passed yet. The scale of legal licensed prostitution is substantially lower than the scale of illegal prostitution. As in every other country, it is extremely hard to find reliable data on illegal prostitution. I can say that there are about the same number of victims of trafficking in the licensed sector as there are in the illegal sector, but that does not give any insight into the percentage of trafficked victims in the one or the other. In short, to say prostitution is legal in the Netherlands is only partly true. With a license and monitored and between consenting adults, yes. However, the vast majority of prostitution is, as in many other countries, illegal. I have always looked at prostitution from the perspective of human trafficking, and I have advised the government accordingly, because that was my mandate. Prostitution is vulnerable, and it is precisely this vulnerability that needs the full attention of local and federal government. And that is why in the Netherlands there is a constant quest for a good or possible way of dealing with an issue that all countries grapple with. No one country has found the answer. And on a personal note, trafficking in human beings is a crime that goes beyond borders and therefore needs the cooperation of all member states. Shutting out a country because of its policy on prostitution goes against the very grain of the OSCE and impairs the effective fight against trafficking. Trafficking in the OSCE region goes far beyond sex trafficking, and it is short-sighted to only focus on that part. That does not help the great number of victims in labor exploitation or exploited in criminal activities. During more than 11 years, I have fought to improve the fight against trafficking on all Ps and on all levels. And I've been extremely effective in this. The UK Anti-Slavery Commissioner was modeled on the Dutch example. There are countless partnerships between the Netherlands and other countries in the fight against trafficking in human beings. I have encouraged and brought about a huge number of combined operations and partnerships, national and international, governmental and non-governmental, public and private. The Dutch government has, in adopting most of my recommendations, shown leadership. It pains me to see that this counts for nothing for a position that entails exactly that, furthering the fight against trafficking in human beings. I hope I will be proved wrong. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. I mean, the decision whether Corinne Dettmeijer will become the next special representative of the OSCE will be taken somewhere else. It's not us. But what we did, and what you know her already a little bit better, her approach to it. And we heard also more about one country, what the country did. Although, we know that many other countries do also a lot and try to find a comprehensive approach to it. But we thank you very much that you took your time to inform us about that. Of course, we wish you all the best, because otherwise we wouldn't have invited you. And we will see how the things go. And maybe there are also people here, or representatives here, for whom it was interesting, most interesting, what you had to say about your approach and also about your country.